So you are welcome back from the concurrent sessions. I hope you had a great time. I believe the information we got would be very helpful to most of us in the field. So we move on to the next session, and I have the pleasure to introduce to you the moderator for that session. That's two sides of the coin. So the moderator for this session is Ivana Freitas. She originates from Serbia, Eastern Europe. She's a proud mom of one son and one dog. Although an RN from Serbia, on arrival she was assessed as RPN candidate. She took bridging programs through the care center that facilitated her passing of the RPN exam in February 2010. She works as a case manager for care center, and currently she is the health and wellness manager for Chartwell Retirement Services. I believe with the wealth of experience she's acquired working with both Canadian-born and foreign-born nurses, she's the proper fit to moderate this session. Let's welcome Ivana Freitas.
No, I can start. Well, thank you so much for introducing me. I just want to correct, so I'm no longer health and wellness manager with Chartwell. I work as an assisted living supervisor for CHATS. And first of all, I want to say how very happy I am for being here today. Care Center was most important part of my integration to Canadian healthcare system. Once again, I really want to say thank you to Norma Tomlin, my case manager, for all support she has given me. Love you. When we talk about integration, we always talk about internationally educated nurses' integration to Canadian healthcare system. However, the true integration has to involve both sides of coins. So internationally educated nurses and Canadian educated nurses. Fears, doubts, concerns, and biases are experienced from both sides. So for that reason, today we have with us 4 nurses, 2 are internationally educated and 2 are Canadian educated. I am going to introduce them first, and you will be able to hear from them their challenges and resolutions. So I have beside me Lori Asheri. She's an RN master educated nurse from Tanzania. She joined Care Center in 2003 and now works as an RN at Sunnybrook Health Science Center, cardiovascular intensive care unit. She is a part-time case manager at Care Center for Internationally Educated Nurses and professional development lead. Lori was the first recipient of Care Center John Lesmond IEN of the Year Award in 2011. And currently serves as a council member of the College of the Nurses of Ontario. She's proud single mom of 4 kids. Beside her, I have Tanya Rose, registered nurse, Bachelor of Science of Nursing. She's a registered nurse, as I said, working at the University Health Network Cardiac Investigation Unit. Tanya received her nursing diploma at Humber College and later earned her Bachelor of Science of Nursing degree at Ryerson University. Tanya worked in a general medicine cardiology unit for 5 years while earning her critical care nursing certificate, then moved to Sunnybrook Health Science Center cardiac unit where she still works as an RN and pursuing Master in Education. She's proud mom of 2 twin boys. Good luck to Dad. 2.5. Beside Tanya, we have Cynthia Buenaventura, registered nurse. She has completed her nursing education in Philippines in 1988 and worked in several fields before immigrating to Canada in 1999. She received her RN registration in 2004 and entered the long-term care sector, moving into a progressively senior position with Chartwell Gibson Long-Term Care as Associate Director of Care. After that, she was a quality care coordinator, where she received an award for service excellence in 2011. Good job. She currently works as an RN supervisor at Providence Healthcare, Houses of Providence, and evening RN supervisor and resident care coordinator at Chartwell Woodhaven Long-Term Care Residence. Beside her, I have Krista Cervantes, a registered nurse, Bachelor of Science in Nursing. She came to Canada from Philippines in 2004. She received her Bachelor of Science in Nursing in 2011 through Ryerson, Centennial, and George Brown Collaborative Nursing Program. Krista first worked as an RN at Chartwell Woodhaven Long-Term Care Residence, then became a case manager at St. Elizabeth Home Health Care before returning to Woodhaven as an associate director of care. Today, Krista is director of care at Woodhaven. So let's hear them. Oh, sorry, you can go. So we have two pairs. We have internationally educated nurse, we have Canadian nurse, internationally educated nurse, Canadian nurse. So this pair will start first.
Oh, okay. All right, so just a bit of a background about how I initially felt when I knew I was going to work with Cynthia. So let's start with my thoughts and fears. I had questioned how different her practice will be from what I'm accustomed to. What would it be like to work with someone who has trained and practiced for many years in a different culture, in a different country, with a different culture, different expectations? Will we have a good communication? Will we have a good professional relationship? And I had assumed that she would have many years of experience ahead of me, but how long has she been practicing in Ontario? Will her experience clash with what I have learned and had practiced? And will we be able to work rhythmically together? So all of these thoughts were going on in my head. A lot of initial thoughts that had crossed my mind before I had even met her. So then I met her. First impressions, she was energetic, friendly, and warm. I felt a pang of guilt for my initial biases. I felt comfortable after our initial correspondence that I knew right away she would not judge me for my neophyte understanding of the nursing world. It's a big world, and I only experienced just a fraction of it. She was knowledgeable, strong clinical and leadership skills. I knew right away that when she's around, I would have a lower chance of getting in trouble. And that's because I can always go to her for any of my questions. She had answers mostly, and when she didn't, she worked with me to find the answers together.
Yeah.
So.
Well, for me, because I'm internationally educated, right? So usually when we come into work, like basically our thoughts and fears is just like, how am I going to be accepted as a coworker, right? Like, how do I fit in? Yeah, so those are your fears and doubts. But for me, because the way, the first impression that I see to her, she was very welcoming and approachable too. And I guess because although she mostly grew up here, so we have the same culture because we both came from the Philippines, but still she was brought up here and I'm brought up back home. And I have a more traditional way of practice and everything. So it's kind of different. So the way I was thinking before is like, how is she going to be willing to work with me? How do I fit in? Should I be more assertive and aggressive in showing my, my knowledge? Or maybe just go with the flow with her, just follow whatever she asked me to do. Yeah, so, but basically because she was so welcoming and approachable, so I can just say that first you have to be confident of yourself, even if you're internationally educated. You believe in your capabilities and knowledge, and you are willing to collaborate with whoever, not only with Krista and with everybody else, right? And then I learned new skills and background experience from her too, especially the modern style of nursing, such as computers, softwares, because back then, on my time, we don't have computer, we don't really have internet at the time, we were just starting, I guess, at the time. So it's mostly like write down documentation, nurturing, charting, and everything. Yeah, so that's basically it that I have to learn from her too. Like I was not really familiar with Microsoft Excel, Microsoft Word, whatever, during my time. So I guess our main thing here is just be open to each other, communicate, and just mainly collaborate. Yeah, that's all I can say. Yeah. You have... Yeah?
So,
Yeah.
do you think maybe, because both of you are coming from Philippines,
Mhm.
do you think that maybe that fact helped your integration, like maybe the
Yeah.
cultural similarity and
Most probably, yeah. Yeah, it helped a lot, yeah.
Can I add something?
Yeah.
We like the same food, so that was.
That was
Adobe.
yeah. Yeah.
so?
I don't know if you
Do you have
have
any questions?
questions or any opinions.
Anything that you would like to share with us?
Yeah.
Yes.
Just a question. Is there any incidents that you had a conflict? How were you able to resolve it?
Conflict
That's a good-
between
very
us.
good
Yeah.
question.
I don't know.
Um,
Can you repeat the question?
the question was if there's a conflict and how we were we had resolved it. Our experience between us, we haven't really had any conflict, but I have had a conflict with a fellow nurse who was also internationally educated, and during an emotional moment of hers, she started speaking in her mother tongue because she knew I could understand her, but everyone else couldn't. So I didn't want to offend her by saying, please speak English. So we had this staring, and she understood me. And I guess she knew that it wasn't appropriate to be speaking in her mother tongue when everyone else around us could not understand what she was saying. But that was the, yeah.
But between us, we never had any
No.
conflict, right? Yeah.
We worked really well together.
Yeah. We're just lucky with that.
Yeah. Yes.
Yes, we have another question.
Yes, I'm just related. My question is around, I know the scenario you just described is more at the individual level, but I'm wondering, is there any organizational support to support somebody like you who had this prejudice? Because what we're talking about is when what you were feeling becomes an action, a behavior, and if you're in a position of leadership, it can have implication for many people. But it's still inside you, you're thinking about it. Is there any support at the organizational level to prepare nurses like you who are born here and you're a Canadian nurse already to welcome this IEN?
That is an excellent question. Chartwell does offer support if we feel that we are at a position where our personal biases and judgment will conflict with our practice, especially being in a management position. We can definitely affect someone else's practice just because they report to us, and that should not be happening. And yes, I do seek support from my consultant, as well as our director of regional operations, and they forward me to whomever is the expert for these issues, and they also provide additional education for that too.
Yes.
Yes, Karina?
Suppose it was me instead of your colleague from Philippines. I'm from Africa. I'm older. I'm slower. I might not catch up as fast as. Would you treat me the same way or?
Yeah.
But I'm a little more challenged than she has. And I'm also wearing my hijab, and you think once, you can't even hear this community. But how would you react to me when somebody either in a clinical practice or a new nurse initiating and starting? How would you treat me? All these challenges.
I wouldn't have noticed the hijab, to be honest. Yes, but yes, I have nurses that are older and not as comfortable with computers. And now that we're transitioning to electronic medication administration records, and all of our documentation is pretty much on the computer now, I personally would spend time with you, and each of us learn differently, and each of us, our learning curves are slightly different than the others. Perhaps you'll learn really, really quickly, perhaps not, but I can't make that decision right now. We kind of have to go with it and go with the flow and try to see and reassess at each step what we can do next. I probably like your food too.
Yeah, let me just add to that. In Chartwell, we always have education. Like it's a mandatory annually, and then if we feel that we have some certain staff that needs more support, we always give that education refresher to them, so everybody will feel supported. When I started, I was also kind of slow and everything, right? But I guess I'm just more assertive, and I adapted quickly. So that's why for me it's I never learned how to do the computer before, but now I can say that I'm pretty quick in it now too. So I guess it's just a matter of your adapting yourself to your workplace too. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just going to reiterate that question. When you started, you talked about your prejudice and the thought you had before you met. So if you met someone different, not the same person from which you came from, another country, different background and everything, and the first impression was not what you expected or what you were prepared for, so how would you act?
How would I handle it? Take a minute. Just to reiterate, like how I would handle if I meet someone.
Yeah, because you said you were thinking about so many things before you met her.
Yeah.
I believe that was how you started.
Yes.
And when you saw her, she was welcoming. She's from the Philippines. You had the same background. So now let's replace her with someone else. Like your first impression was not what you expected, and you're like, okay, she has different region, maybe different country, not from she's older, or maybe she's even younger, and your first impression wasn't that great. So would you still continue with just the way, like the relationship you had with her? So I just want to know, like, how would you help? Or is there any support that would help you to kind of act the way you have been?
Okay, so it's, like in every relationship, it's two-way street, like, what you give, it's, and as well what you're receiving, that's how you're gonna, react, so that could help you.
Yeah. I wouldn't know how to react until I meet the person. And when I do, I stay open. Language may be different, but we all speak English. And the cultural background may be different, but to me, all of those don't matter. We're all nurses. We're all here to look after our residents and patients. My biggest fear really is that the people that are coming in to work with me are extremely experienced. And part of me feels that they're probably going to judge me. How did she get that job? And the practice of nursing in other countries, I find are a lot more intense than the training that we've had here. And I know that I'll learn more. And I know that along our relationship, a professional relationship, you'd probably point out things that I could do better. And yeah, and I welcome those. And Cynthia does too.
Yeah. Okay.
I hope that answers it.
Yeah.
Like it's hard to say, like, every person needs, we are all different, and everybody has different attitude, and, as well as the manager, you are really, you really have to think, you need to first to open yourself and to really see if that person is shy, what's the problem, is it language barrier, is it, anything else like that to support. And I believe many of the organizations, at least retirement homes and long-term care facilities, they do have things in place, more or less, that will help internationally educated nurses integrate, because most of the jobs that IENs are receiving are in that sector. I'm not quite sure for the hospitals, but maybe we can ask CARE to maybe advocate a little bit more, and maybe have hospitals make some policies and have things in place, and have nurses really specializing in helping us integrate. So. Now we're going to hear our next pair.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Hello. Yeah, I'll just share briefly as I'm an international educated nurse who came from Tanzania. My nursing journey started a different hospital, not where we were working with Tanya, but in North South Lake in Newmarket. I will just share two different places I worked and the differences. When I started working at Newmarket, I joined a new unit, which was a cardiovascular ward, which was completely new. So all of us, we were new. I was the only IEN there. So my experience there was very, very positive, because my manager right away picked my experience and picked my skills, and I was teaching, in fact, and leading other nurses and orientating, in fact, Canadian educated nurses. The only different there was my accent. Everybody will ask, where are you from? And the population of patients there also was mostly Canadian. So they will look at me, are you from Jamaica? Your name is different. But I had a different experience there. It was very positive. I decided to move from South Lake to Sunnybrook. I remember when I was ready to move, the surgeons there, who work at Sunnybrook as well, they questioned me, why do you want to move? Do you know Sunnybrook? Oh my goodness. Nurses there, they are so, so critical. They will eat you alive. And to me, I had a decision to make. My daughter was accepted at UFT, and I had to decide, should I stay in Newmarket or should I move? And then I think the surgeons really encouraged me to move, because I thought, okay, I'm ready for the challenge. And why was I ready for the challenge? Because CARE has prepared me. So I decided to move and go to Sunnybrook. I made a risky decision, but I ended up there in cardiovascular intensive care unit.
Good afternoon, guys. So I met Lloyd at Sunnybrook. So although I am not physically different than Lloyd, I did have my own. I had my own limitations of who IENs were. Like, I was born and raised and trained in Canada. I had no idea what internationally educated nurses were until I actually was presented to working with one. I believe Lloyd, when I started at Sunnybrook, was the only internationally trained nurse at the time. And then over the years, we've had several new members of staff working with us. So my initial thoughts were, like, the language barriers is a very common theme. Will I be able to understand Lloyd? Will she be able to understand me? Does Lori have any nursing skills to work on the unit? For some reason, that's our initial thought. Just because you're internationally trained, you don't have any nursing skills, which is such a far false information. Does Lori have any computer skills required to work in the unit? The ICU is heavily required on computer skills. Does she have any training? Do I have to be constantly helping her? Become like somewhat selfish, This is my time, I need to finish my work, I don't have time to be helping someone else all the time. And another fear that was common throughout the ICU at Sunnybrook was the fear of the competition in the job market. If we hire all these internationally trained nurses, will domesticated nurses have a job, which was a common theme, okay? So just to go back and to place my own misjudgment, I misjudged Lori totally, completely wrong. My first impressions were completely false. It just took time for me to understand Lori. Once we got to know each other on a personal level, and she got incorporated in the Canadian culture, which takes time for anyone and anything. Anything new takes time to adjust to and adapt to, not just nursing. And that's something that we can take away from this workshop. It just takes time. Sorry, can I say something?
Okay. My first impression when I joined cardiovascular intensive care unit at Sunnybrook, first was my clinical educator. She was amazing. Right away, she picked up that I have experience. Right away, she picked up that I have nursing skills. She didn't know my other challenges as IEN till in 2011, that's 5 years after, when I was the recipient of the award. She said, Lori, had I known by then what challenges you are going through, I would have helped you differently. But all in all, the first impression, in fact, she really supported me, and she was amazing as a nurse, as a person. With my other colleagues, it was a different story. When I talk of colleagues, I'm talking of nurses, I'm talking of physiotherapists, I'm talking of doctors. I remember so many times they'll question my nursing skills. So many times they'll question my ability of operating the equipment. I remember sometimes my monitor is off and I'm trying to troubleshoot. All of a sudden someone will come and try to help. And I have to say, thank you, but I will manage. I'll call you if I'm not able. So many times at work, I'm a quiet, calm, because I tend to listen and think. So many times that was mistaken as not confident, not knowing what to do, and maybe scared to ask, and maybe ashamed to ask. So many times while I'm talking, English is not my first language, so it takes time to think the right word. And I'm always a slow talker in finishing a sentence. Someone will be there to help finish, even if they don't know what I wanted to say. Doctors, in ICU, nurses, you are doing almost everything. When you report the condition of the patient, doctors, the first time, you may not get that response that, yeah, there's a problem. Till when they really see the repetition of things. When you tell them and they don't act, something happens. And they will come, a lot of times they've come and said, Lori, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Because they knew that I can assess. They knew that I have nursing skills, but that it involved a lot of work. First, I want to share that when I joined Sunnybrook, it was weird. Every time I open the door going to work, the assignments I get will be challenging ones, where families, they are real, they can't cope. And when families can't cope, they always take on nurses. I'll get those assignments. I remember when it happened the first, the second, the third, I had to sit down and say, wait a minute. I think this is my opportunity to show who I am. I'm a nurse with experience. To show that I have exposure towards different culture, including Canadian and other cultures. So I can really talk. And I think one thing I have is my calmness and listening. I can listen. And when I'm listening, I'm learning. So by the time I talk, I've learned enough. That helped me a lot. In fact, that's why eventually I was nominated by the management, by the nurses, and because they were consulted, nurses, families, they were consulted. And so I took that challenge for my own advantage. I think now I'll give it to Tanya before I talk about what helped me.
I just wanted to go back on the point that was raised in terms of working with an domesticated and an international nurse. The young lady at the back in the middle of the room there, you had a comment, yes, what the workplace can do for us nurses. I know at UHN right now, it's a big drive in respect and civility in the workplace. So we've gone to many conferences, we've done many workshops within nurses. I'm not sure about the doctors, I'm just focusing on nurses right now. And we also have a workshop for nurses and doctors regarding working with internationally educated professionals. So across the
Are you a nurse back home? Were you a nurse? I said, yes, I was, because she could see what I was doing. Because as PSW, you are supposed to just help, but a lot of times I will just do things maybe, because you are a nurse, you are a nurse. There are things you do without thinking. So that is what happened, to know the Canadian system. But after that, I joined CARE, and I needed support because it's very draining, it's very tiring. I needed support. And through the help of CARE and myself, of course, I've already done it before, was to identify my strength and the areas where I needed to work. And those areas, I did some courses. For example, my goal, I had to have a goal of 5 years. Who do I want to be? I didn't want to be where I am. I said, I am an experienced nurse. I came here with a lot of skills. I will utilize those. So I thought in 5 years, I don't want to be working anywhere except in cardiovascular intensive care. So I took a cardiology course. Those were the things I identified. But also I identified my strength. To me, that was very, very important. I needed a foundation. I needed something to help me keep on going. And that was to identify who I am, to acknowledge my experience, and to identify my strength. And my strength, my strength is being able to learn. I'm always adventurous. I want to learn new things every day. So that helped me. While I was at Sunbrook, I utilized that strength to go beyond just being a nurse at bedside. I joined the research committee because I used to work in research. Nursing is my second career. So I joined the research committee, and they were amazed. They said, what? And we were together. It was a multidisciplinary team with doctors, and they said, oh, where did you get these research tools? So I was able to do that. I joined the education council for the whole, we call it tech program, where is emergency, critical trauma. So I joined that committee. By joining that committee, I was able to utilize my skills. So I was able to let my fellow nurses know me, know who I am through my day-to-day activities. But I'll go back to Tanya. Without her knowing, she joined, when did you join again?
In 08.
08, so 2 years after me joining Sunbrook. I think, as I didn't know what she was thinking, now I know. Thank you to this conference. But one day we were talking, and then she started asking me, not about my nursing skills,
Probing.
about my life outside nursing, about my family. So I shared with her about my life. I shared with her about having children as a single mom. And when I came, the first one was 10, and 2 in between, and the last one was 3. And I will put them in the rope when I go to the mall. But during those times, I was doing my courses, I was doing my exam, so I had time for my children as a mother, I had time for my profession. And that equipped me with planning skills. So when Tanya asked me, I shared with her. And without her knowing, her asking me question about life outside nursing, it meant a lot, because we are people, we are human. We are not just nurses. Other life affects our nursing profession. So, thank you.
You're welcome.
And we continued sharing, but challenges are still there, but I look to a challenge as an opportunity for me to move to the next step.
I guess just to conclude my part here, I think as a domesticated Canadian educated nurse, we just need to unlearn and be aware of our own bias, our own prejudice, and our own limitations. And once we can get past it as nursing, we do a lot of self-reflecting. Just like, where did we get these thoughts? Where are they coming from? Why are they there? Once we acknowledge our own thoughts and the biases and judgment, I think we can move on and accept anyone from anywhere. And just not just nursing, because we're surrounded by immigrants of any kind everywhere. And that's just the way of the future, right? So just being aware and self-reflecting on our own. And once again, thanks to Loy's determination and perseverance. Once we started talking, I learned that she was well-determined. She became my mentor. As a domestic trained nurse, we just focused so much on nursing. I wasn't, at the time, didn't really have a life outside of nursing. It was just strictly nursing. Speaking to Loy, I realized she was able to, though she was a nurse, she had so many other things going outside the nursing field and the workplace. As I said, she had her children. She was working in many different organizations, and then I felt I needed to seek other opportunities, and I was willing to learn and change. So at this time, I am pursuing a master's in education. I got married. I had twin boys. So thank you, Loy.
Question.
Do we have any more questions? Yes.
I'm Hussein Khoury, part of Case Center as well, employer of the engagement lead. Just I wanted to mention thank you for both domestic and also international nurses to share your experience. Just wanted to indicate that Case Center has a new program, as a workplace transitions program that help both, or is going to partner with both IENs and employers to really facilitate as well as kind of a smooth transition for IENs as well as for employers. I know, as you mentioned, lots of thinking might go through when you hiring the new staff, especially if it's international educated nurses. So don't feel to be alone. So Paris Center is here. Previously, the focus has been mainly on helping IENs to get their license, but now the focus is expanding, I could say, to help IENs and employers to assist IENs into the transitioning into integration into the workplace. So I will be around, and also I've been seeing many of you, so I will share my card. So anytime, just call, even if you don't have my email, if you get to Case, so you can find me, and we're very pleased to support and partner with you.
Well, thank you for sharing. So what do you think you will take home from this presentation?
I want my question.
Oh, sorry, Halima.
There's more here, there. There are more questions. Pardon me?
Two sides of the
Halima,
coin.
just a moment, please.
I
Tanya.
is amazing, and it gives me courage and hope. And thank you very much for all four of you. Because when I start my clinic at this age, I want to be at your hospital.
Any more questions?
Or comments?
Hello, I'm Rona. Good afternoon, everyone. It's not a question, actually, it's just sharing something that came up to my mind from an educator point of view, and because of you mentioned a lot about prejudice and all of this. What worries any nurse who is a professional nurse and an expert in her field is like when receiving another nurse if she's having enough skills. I actually love what Tanya said, is like you reflect as a Canadian educated nurses upon your own biases, because if you think about yourself receiving a new grad from a Canadian university, are you going to have the same worries and prejudice comparing to an IEN who's been expert in her field from her home country, who will bring in any kind of expertise and knowledge and skills? So this is just to share it, because as well, new grads from a Canadian universities or colleges, they would actually maybe need a lot of time to be really integrated in your Canadian healthcare system. So thank you so much. I just like to share.
Thank you for sharing.
The last question.
And the last question?
There's one there.
Yes.
My name is Ravina. I also work in Sunny Brook Hospital. But actually, I just got a question because as IEN, I just went through the process to get licensed and get hired. But I found when I was a newcomer, I have the support from the care center, right? But since I stepped into another stage, like I started my career here, and also has some challenge to become a new member in my team. Actually, I think it would be a good idea if that is a support group or kind of the chance that the IENs who has been through this process can support us. But the only thing I saw now, just maybe sometimes talk to my cast manager like Roy, or sometimes, because I rarely met the IEN nurses in my hospital, even in my unit. So I don't know if there's a possible, the chance to have a kind of the group or support group from care then to support this new hired, members to, overcome their challenges when they are new hired nurses in their career. Thank you.
Thank. Okay. You want to answer? Okay. Thank you. You are very right. Most of the time, when we have gone through the process and we are at the workplace, you feel like you are alone. But CARE have been trying to arrange so many programs so that members can network. For example, the professional development programs, where members can attend the workshops, but during those workshops, we deliberately give about 30 minutes, I think, of sharing, talking, networking. And we, as CARE, we help create that, a place where IENs can meet. But I think it involves also IENs to, as you are saying, to be willing to talk and share and real network beyond that. So I think you are reminding us a very important point that as IENs, we have a role to play. Myself, when I graduated and I was registered and found a job, I could have said I'm done with CARE. But you know what I did? For years, I was volunteering with CARE. I will come to CARE using my own money to pay the gas. I was not paid anything for about, I think for about 5-6 years. I will come, do mentoring to other members, or just be there with the other members. And it helped me a lot, because during those moments, you learn and other people learn. You have to wonder conclusion.
Okay, so I'm hoping we're gonna take home what to learn at this presentation is so to stay positive, ask if we don't know something, and really try to earn respect especially in the bigger facilities like hospitals. Thank you so much.